Weapons has finally hit theaters, and with fall right around the corner, we're starting to get some really good horror releases. And I'm gonna be honest, I can't say horror really much, so it sounds like whore. We've had a slew of horror movies drop this year. And some have been amazing, and others, well, not so much.
Eli, Josh,
Patrick doesn't count.
are you fucking... Wow, right in front of him?
Really nice.
I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry you had to hear that.
That's okay, I don't mind.
But that's not the point of this video. The real flesh and blood here is how great and intriguing Weapons was, especially with its uniqueness and cast it delivers. I think we're hitting a new age of horror, more interesting, more creative stories. And hey, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. That's just kind of my opinion. But Weapons, starring Julia the Queen Garner, yes, I said it, along with Josh Brolin and many more, drops us into this mystery that blends a chilling real-world theme kind of movie along with like the disappearance of 17 children, all from the same classroom. Now, whether or not they find these kids, and this video is gonna spoil that, so here's your official spoiler warning. As always, I'm Hunter from Hunnera, bringing you some of my favorite takes from movies, media, and everything in between. So let's break down why Weapons is one of the best and most mind-capturing horror films of 2025.
I just want to say how very sorry I am for...
She should be locked up until she tells us what happened.
The truth is that I want an answer just as bad as all of you.
We're talking about 17 kids in one classroom. I want to know what happened in that classroom. Why just her classroom? Why only her?
They're our children.
I love those kids.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town. A lot of people die and...
So, quick story recap, assuming you have seen this movie, of course. Weapons, starring a stat cast, follows the case of 17 children who vanished late one night. The twist, every single one of them comes from the same classroom, taught by Julia Garner's character, Justine. And naturally, the town spirals. You know, parents are desperate, and the media kind of swarms around, and the suspicion also zeroes in on Justine. So, angry townsfolk, including Josh Brolin's character, Archer, take it way too far at times, stalking and harassing her. Error missing exposition moments later. I don't even know what that was about, but continuing. So as the search deepens, it becomes clear that this isn't just like a random tragedy. The disappearances are tied to something far darker, and the only remaining child, Alex, may hold the key to that entire mystery. And now I'm jumping straight into it. I did not expect this movie to dive into witchcraft. The trailers tease some creepy stuff, sure, but nothing really kind of gave it away like that. You know, the whole salt in the hallway bit, I just thought that was a spooky touch. I didn't know that was like an actual kind of thing out there, you know? But it just shows kind of how far I think, I guess. Now, I really have to say the portrayal of Aunt Gladys really caught me off guard for a couple of reasons. Good reasons, though. Not only does Amy Madigan do a horrifying job in showing us how cruel and wicked Gladys can be, mixing that with how scary she could come off, and at visual times, too. But it does a good job turning this old and sickened woman both physically and mentally into a cancer that this whole town does have to endure. My first point ties directly into this. There's a great article where Zach Krager explained, the last chapter of this movie was straight up autobiographical, and that was my childhood. You live with an alcoholic parent, and there's some inversion of the dynamic. The child becomes the caregiver. This foreign substance comes in and changes everyone's behavior. The house becomes a scary place, and you can go to school and act like everything's fine, but then you come home and hide from a zombie parent. That felt so real to me. And I think that's what makes Weapons hit so hard here. I mean, Alex slips into that caregiver role while everyone around him is becoming helpless, zombies of who they once were in many ways. Gladys, through her witchcraft, literally drains the life from people. I mean, Alex's parents, Principal Andrew, and so many others. It's such a sharp metaphor for how adults in our lives can sometimes be the very ones who harm us, leaving the younger generation to step up, fight back, and try to hold on to some sense of hope or safety. It doesn't take much to piece this together, because this movie, while being creative and fresh in horror, also gives itself the ability to say something bigger. My second point, which has to deal with a much more deeper kind of multi-tooled reflection, is how we can be turned into weapons ourselves, or how those weapons both metaphorically and physically affect every one of us in some way or another, using themes of stripping us down mentally and not being able to fully come back from times of violence, abuse, or much more. Now, for this next part, I need to give you a heads up. It's gonna get uncomfortable. And if you're not someone who likes diving deep into these kinds of themes and subjects, this is just your nice kind of warning from me. So let's get back into it. The messages and weapons are heavy, whether it's about school shootings and the imaginable tragedy survivors have to live with, or the broader impact of gun violence in all of its forms. I gotta say, it's pretty powerful, and it speaks volumes about the mental and emotional toll that these events can leave behind on us. And that's not just on the kids, but everyone at the table. Following a community in this movie who has to deal with the tragedy of losing children in a school setting and the trauma they'll all have to endure, and in different ways too, just shows how horror can be such a creative voice for serious topics, including traits and showing how parents and others can be weaponized themselves both directly and indirectly from this trauma. The townsfolk are all looking for reasons as to what happened, and they look towards Justine's character and kind of force the responsibility on her. And whether that's just or not, I think it makes this movie have a great scene where the sheriff is talking to Braun's character, how it's not her fault, but the loss and grief can be so consuming that at times it pushes us to a point.
What is it you think that she knows? What do you think it is that she's not telling us? Because those kids walked out of those homes, no one pulled them out. No one forced them. I don't see anything whatsoever that points to that woman. What do you see that I don't?
I see something that I don't understand at all.
Towards the end, there's this intense moment where Gladys is being chased by the very kids she had under her spell, and when they finally catch her, they tear her apart. Like, they shred this woman. Justifiably, sure. But it kind of circles right back to one of those core themes in this movie on how the control and influence of others can shape and sometimes shatter a person's life. I mean, these children are the real victims here, and even with Gladys gone, the damage is done. The film makes that very clear. Some things never bounce back, and that's what we kind of get with that narration. Even when she's like telling us that some are just starting to speak again, or like Alex's parents are living in an institution basically, ultimately living in a mindless state. It's a chilling reminder of how trauma leaves scars and how the weapons in our lives don't just wound us physically, but also mentally and metaphorically long after the fight is over. That's really the heart of this video, and what I now realize is probably the biggest reason I love weapons is its commentary, the way it reflects the world around us and how change is so desperately needed, but it's never that easy. What I also appreciate is that the film doesn't make you dig through layers of symbolism to get there. The message is very clear, and you can feel it at times, especially in Archer's dream sequence with that gun just floating in the air, kind of like an omen. But closing out this main section, I honestly think that's what makes Weapons worth watching, and it leaves you kind of like unsettled, but in a way that's worth exploring, if you get what I'm saying.
2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark.
I've got to circle back to this cast, especially Julia. I'm forever gonna love her. Ever since the first season of Ozark on Netflix, where she played Ruth, rest in peace, my girl.
If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me!
And of course, Benedict Wong and Josh Brolin are always a pleasure to see on the big screen, along with the rest of the supporting cast, who can really bring this story to life. And I love when Justin Long got to make this cameo. The director did Barbarian, which had Bill Skarsgård and Georgina Campbell, along with Justin again. And I just thought that was really fun. And that's a pretty solid movie too, so if you haven't seen it, I think it's really neat. One of the most surprising elements for me wasn't even the plot twist, but it was how the movie was told. You know, the story split into different character chapters, and each one giving you a new angle and showing like things and how they happened. It was just a great structure, and it keeps the pacing tight. It makes the mystery even more addictive. I wanted to sneeze so bad while saying that. But yeah, and it all converges at Alex's house for that final chaotic showdown. Before I move on, I gotta mention another layer to the whole weaponization of weapons in the themes. There's a brutal scene where Justine and Archer are forced to kill Paul and James just to save themselves in the house. And watching Justine process that in real time in her own kind of horror is just another example of how this movie keeps weaving the theme in right up to the very end. Forcing her to kill someone who's weaponized with a weapon, absolute cinema. Speaking of the end, Weapons really seals the deal for me on why I believe horror is better than ever right now. We're getting commentary on heavy films like The Substance, the deep mindset and layered analysis of Heretic, and then you have shit like the sheer creativity of Companion and all that good stuff. I know Black Phone 2 comes out, I'm ready for that. You got movies like Together, all delivering more than just your kind of typical hack and slash. And now don't get me wrong, I love my hack and slash. Cue my shameless plug for tattoos here. Yeah, that's me, Mr. Fine Shit. But Weapons goes further. It makes you think, it makes you process it, and it forces you to look at the world around us, even if it's uncomfortable. And whether or not that's something you like in your horror, that's totally up to you. But for me, the takeaway is that life isn't just black and white. It's gray, and it's up to us to color the pages along the way. So, with that being said, hope you guys like this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
I'm calling about the $50,000 reward. For information about the missing kids. Because I know where they are.